Well, Brazil has set its eyes on taking down another one of Elon Musk's companies. This time, the country is going after Musk's satellite internet company, Starlink. Now, the country's telecom regulators threatened to sanction Starlink and said they could revoke its license to operate in Brazil. That came hours after Brazil's Supreme Court upheld a decision to ban Elon Musk's X nationwide after the platform refused to comply with court orders. Justices had previously ordered X to be blocked after the company refused to name a local legal representative as required by law. According to the ruling, X will stay suspended until it complies with court orders and pays outstanding fines that exceed $3 million. Justice Alexandre de Moraes set a daily fine of $8,900 for anyone using a VPN to access X. The judge also issued an order last week freezing Starlink's finances in Brazil and preventing Musk's business from conducting financial transactions in that country. Now, Musk, meanwhile, accuses Brazil's top judge of acting as a, quote, very evil dictator for suspending X. Musk also tweeted, quote, free speech is the bedrock of democracy, and an unelected pseudo-judge in Brazil is destroying it for political purposes. In another tweet, Musk wrote, quote, the oppressive regime in Brazil is so afraid of the people learning the truth that they will bankrupt everyone who tries. In the ruling, one of the panel justices said X, quote, seems to believe it's above the law. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva told reporters that the, quote, world is not obliged to put up with Musk's far-right ideology just because he's rich. So we're continuing to follow developments in Brazil with Elon Musk and his companies. What did you make of this, Jessica?
Well, it sounds like a little bit of the same playbook the United States has always had whenever a multinational corporation wants to do business in a country that doesn't agree with the business practice. And so Elon Musk trying to have X be accessible to the Brazilian people to get his propaganda to them through satellite is crazy to me. This idea that the Brazilian people, if using a device that's not able to be regulated by their government, Elon Musk by satellite could usher in propaganda to them like leaflets falling out of a CIA plane. It's just amazing how, modern technology creates new ways for them to intervene with other countries' election, political process, access to information. It's just crazy that he could give this entire country access to a website that's banned legally by satellite, and potentially the government could have no way of taking that satellite down. It really makes the case for why the Space Force is even a thing, that eventually we're going to be fighting battles in outer space over satellites.
You say it's crazy. I say it's awesome that the government's the Brazilian government's attempts to censor speech, to prevent people from receiving information, can be thwarted by this private internet Starlink system. But I think a lot of this speaks to what Elon Musk and other people like Michael Schellenberger, who we have on the show frequently, have talked about, these efforts, internationally to grapple with companies like X and Starlink and other social media companies and shut down debate and discussion, purge what they say is misinformation, is false speech. I think we have learned here in the U.S. to be very wary of, experts, government elites coming in and trying to decide which speech is, misinformation and which is not. Obviously, there was a lot of erroneous labeling of speech as hateful or misinformation during COVID, during other subjects. That doesn't mean that the criticism is always wrong, or the contrarianism is always correct, but sometimes it is. And the best way to sort it out is to have broad free speech norms and debate. That's something we do broadly have in the U.S. because we have First Amendment protections. In Brazil and in Europe, as the attempts we've seen recently against Telegram, against, again, X by the EU, there's a class of bureaucratic elites in other countries who want to stifle dissent and stifle speech, and they are going to use those countries' more permissive of censorship legal structures to achieve that. This is something that is affecting X, Telegram. It's affected Facebook in other countries, and Mark Zuckerberg obviously recently complaining that the U.S. was a little different during COVID, saying that he was forced to or persuaded to do lots of censorship that he didn't want to do by the U.S. government. But again, these examples from Brazil and other places show how much worse it can be elsewhere.
Yeah, I think the technology is cool. I mean, the fact that we can give people access to internet by satellite is a cool thing. It becomes crazy and a little bit scary when it's a billionaire with a clear agenda trying to push information to people. I mean, that's what X is blocked over. That's what the judge's decision hinged on, is Elon Musk having a website where false information about the election was pushed to the people in an effort, what, to change the politics of Brazil. The idea that one very wealthy man could have that much power is what makes me say it's crazy and not it's cool. When Ukraine was at war and Starlink was being used to provide internet access to people experiencing war, that was something that helped people get necessary medications who are suffering from cancer. That's cool. It becomes crazy when it's some rich guy trying to influence a country's politics in the direction of being friendly of American companies' exploitation.
Well, but you say influence in a, I mean, his platform is, it's a free speech platform where people can give information that is true, they can give information that is false, you can decide what you think. I mean, is that really pushing Elon friendly or right-wing friendly or American friendly information to just have a platform and say the information is not going to be restricted? I think you could say that the Brazilian authorities are the ones, that this Brazilian judge is pushing one kind of information or the other by saying that this place where information I don't like is accessible, that should be prevented. I think the people on the other side would say, well, that's the pushing a narrative, that's the pushing one's politics. It's being done by the people trying to do the censoring, not the people saying just the site should be open to whoever.
Right. It would be one thing if this was a website where he didn't have an account on it, he didn't push any information on it, he didn't have algorithms that favored right-wing speech or favored misinformation about the recent election in Brazil and pushed that to X users in Brazil. If it was just any information people want access to, the most popularly interacted with accounts are at the top of the feed, and it actually operated as a free speech platform, that would be different, but that's not what they found. They did not find that X is operating that way. And so, yeah, I think that that's a big reason why they're upset about it, is it's not actually a free speech platform. I mean, Elon Musk himself posted over the weekend this quote that it says people who can't defend themselves physically, women and low testosterone men, parse information through a consensus filter as a safety mechanism. They literally do not ask, is this true? They ask, will others be okay with me thinking this is true? That makes them very malleable to brute force and manufactured consensus. I mean, he's pushing the dehumanization of people who are women and low testosterone as people unable of understanding the truth. That is someone who's not using his free speech platform responsibly. This is a platform where calling someone cisgender is deemed a slur. This is not a free speech platform. It's turned into a platform for him to push his particular political agenda. That's why it's been banned in Brazil.
So you think that what you just read should be, you should be prohibited from posting that on social media, or that a site should be fined or sanctioned if they allow you to post that on the site?
No, I didn't say that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying this is insight into Elon's political perspective and view of the world. And the type of information he wants to push on his personal platform is a reflection of what the judges have found in Brazil. And it's that he's intentionally pushed misinformation to favor the right wing in Brazil after they just held a democratic election. And so to force this agenda in Latin America, to have the people cast doubt on their electoral process, their democracy, and the majority of what people believe politically in the country, to try and influence that through satellite and through pushing information onto these people, that doesn't sound like free speech to me.
All right, we'll have more Rising right after this.